morning.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Treasurer Falwell welcoming everybody to the 2 p.m. quarterly meeting of the Board of Trustees of the ABLE program. I'd like to call the meeting to order. There will be a public comment section regarding this in our agenda. Continuing with our initiatives to increase transparency, we've established a policy to record audio and video of official meetings that will be provided to you on our website. It's an effort made to increase transparency and accessibility of public meetings that fall under the authority of the Treasurer's Office. Because our board members typically attend the meeting by phone, we will do the following. We'll have a roll call at the beginning of the meeting. Leave the meeting. Please notify us as well as returning. Likewise, if you need to speak, please identify yourself before speaking for the meeting minutes. And finally, any text or other forms of communication regarding the activities of the meeting that occur during the meeting can be considered public record. As a reminder, please mute your phone until you need to speak in order to limit background noise. And now I ask the Secretary to call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell.
Here.
Catherine Boskin.
Present.
Melinda Plew.
Here.
Marquita Robertson.
Here.
Chris Egan. Chris Egan. Tim Smith.
Here.
Good. Members, our ethics awareness, identification of conflicts or potential conflicts, please take a moment to review the agenda that's been forwarded to you. Does anyone present have an actual potential or the appearance of a conflict regarding matters that are before us? Hearing none, in your board book, there are statements of economic interest evaluations that have been updated for myself, Treasurer Falwell, Katie Boskin, Cody Kinsley, Christopher Egan, and as well as Tom Causey. Findings SCI evaluations for the board and or their designees in the appendix. The State Ethics Act requires us that any conflicts of interest that could be identified to be periodically reviewed and put in our board meeting for official purposes. Without objection, if we ask for a vote, which I'm getting ready to for approval of the meeting minutes, anybody who makes a motion or second to that motion will be considered a yes vote. Given that, do I hear a motion to approve the meeting minutes of August 10th?
This is Katie Boskin. So moved.
Second, Melinda.
Thank you, Katie and Melinda. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk will call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell.
Aye.
Marquita Robertson.
Aye.
Chris Egan. Tim Smith.
Aye.
Thank you all very much. Now we'll turn it over to Jeff to provide us an administrative update from staff.
Thank you, Treasurer Falwell. Just wanted to highlight a few things for the board. A couple of years back, the Treasury published some final regulations around ABLE programs. They gave each program transition period to implement the new rules. We had a few states in our alliance implement these around the May timeframe of this year. We chose to be in the second group, which will end up going live on our platform on the 20th of November. So just in about 2 weeks here, or a little less. And some of the highlights of the new final federal regulations are, today we had the concept of what was a authorized agent. There were four different levels of authorized agent with varying levels of authority on the account. The final regs really have done away with the concept of authorized agent. And so anyone who was in a level 1 level 2 or level 3 authorized agent role will now become an interested party to the account owner. Anyone who was in a level 4 authorized agent role, which was really someone who had the same level of access as the account owner, will become now known as a authorized individual. So again, we're doing away with the concept of the authorized agent, and we'll only have either an interested party or an authorized individual. Second thing I wanted to point out is they've also developed a hierarchy or a role of the authorized individual for account owners without a legal capacity. And this hierarchy is in an order of priority, and it does require certifications, but those are in order as a power of attorney, a conservator, a legal guardian, spouse, parent, sibling, grandparent, and then last is a rep payee. And so when a person is listed as an authorized individual, they also have to certify that there's nobody higher than themselves in the hierarchy that is willing to serve as an authorized individual. Today, anyone who was listed as a co-authorized individual will become an authorized individual on their own. The third item I would like to highlight is the basis for eligibility to open up an Enable account. Today, we really had two, which was one, you either had to have a disability that was diagnosed by a physician, or you were eligible for SSI or SSDI. There's a third item. We now, if you have any one of the conditions that are listed on the SSA's list of compassionate allowances, you are now eligible to open up an ABLE account. And then last, I would also like to highlight that we will have successor beneficiaries, which is going to be called a successor account owner. And we, with the NC ABLE plan, have made the decision to allow the successor account owner not only to be a sibling, but any other ABLE eligible person. So those are just a few of the highlights that we're going to see implemented in our program on the 20th of this month as a result of these final as a result of the final regs. I'll pause there and see if there's any questions from anyone regarding those.
Questions?
Great, thank you. Turn it back to you, Treasurer.
Thank you very much. Now we're at our agenda, part of our agenda, where Zora is going to bring us an update under tab 2 from our really busy communications marketing update. So they've been doing a lot of 5Ks and lots of other things. So go ahead, Zora.
Thank you for that. Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to give a high-level overview of our communication efforts over the last quarter. So next slide, please, Patty. So we had a very active QC, and we continue to see people at different organizations proactively reach out to us to request informational webinars, which is really great. And in August, we gave 4 webinars alone during National Able to Save Month. And we also co-presented a webinar in September with the National Able Alliance. And that webinar we co-presented actually featured an NC Able account holder as well as a parent. So that was really great to see. The treasurer has also been very instrumental in his help spreading the word about NC Able. And over the last quarter, we issued a press release that announced lower fees for NC-able account holders, as well as we were featured in an article in Spectrum magazine that really highlighted the different benefits of the program. So next slide, please, Patty. So as the treasurer alluded to, Q4 is already in full swing. Really, we kicked things off with National Disability Employment Awareness Month in October. And we've had an increased presence at events throughout the state, including statewide events with the Autism Society of North Carolina, and we went to the State Fair's Accessibility Day, where we partnered with the newly crowned Miss Wheelchair America, Allie Ingersoll. And personally, I just have to say it's been really great to get back out and interact one-on-one with people in the community again. We also recently had a table at the NCDPI Exceptional Children's Annual Conference, as well as at the Arc of the Triangles Fall Resource Fair. And there we were able to disseminate information and answer questions about the program. And what's really great to see is that we're already getting requests for webinars and getting requests for more information from contacts that we made at these different events. So the treasurer also had a really great visit last week at the North Carolina School for the Deaf, and he was able to participate in an assembly as well as have a really engaging conversation with some of the students through sign language. And then we also worked with some of the students at the North Carolina School for the Deaf to create different artwork that was inspired by the NC-able program. So the artwork was actually highlighted in a press release that we issued around the treasurer's visit. And I think we can all agree that it was a really great visit, and it even garnered some local media coverage. So we've been able to share that media coverage, photos, and video from the event across all of our different social media platforms. Beyond that, we're also continuing to work with the students at Franklin Academy on another graphic arts and marketing project. And today kicked off the first of our NC-able webinar series. And thank you to Reed who participated. We had a great discussion about NC-able accounts versus special needs trusts. So we're really excited to keep that webinar series going because we can do deep dives into topics that are important to our account holders, as well as use it as another vehicle to really promote the NC-able program. So next slide, please, Patty. So Q3 is our first full quarter with our website ncable.org under our belt, and we continue to see visitors to our website from across the state and beyond. And on this slide, you can actually see some of the top locations that our visitors are coming from throughout the state. And they include places like Raleigh, Winston-Salem, Asheboro, and Wilmington. But what's really great that I want to point out is that people who are visiting our website are actually using the tools and resources that we have available. So for instance, you can see our NC-able enrollment checklist had quite a few clicks to it. And then 52% of all the people who actually go to the enrollment webpage on ncable.org actually opened an account. And that 52% number is very encouraging to see. So next slide, please, Patty. And social media, as always, continues to support all of our efforts. In Q3, once again, we saw an increase in followers, as well as an increase in the amount of interactions and engagements across all of our platforms. And really, again, I think you can take a look at all of our communication efforts and see if they're working when you look at the number of account openings and balances. And we have currently over 1,700 funded NC-able accounts and over $16.7 million in assets, which again, we're really excited to see that number keep going up. So before I turn it over to questions, I'm actually going to stop here and tell everyone thank you so much. We had a really great quarter and we couldn't have done it with all of your help. Really without the support of the treasurer, the staff, and the board at all these different events we had, truly everyone coming together, I think, made Q3 a success. And we really want to build on that heading into 2023. So again, thank you, everyone.
I'd like to take a second to just really brag on staff going out and doing some of these events in the field with them. Zora and Kristen and Christy really do a fantastic job getting the audience engaged, bringing people over to the table, getting information out. And I think one of our biggest challenges is just raising awareness with the program. And you guys do a fantastic job when you're out there in the public. I just want to say thank you for the work and the efforts that you do around that.
Thank you.
And Mr. Treasurer, if I may, this is Katie Boskin. Zora, great job. Kudos to your team. I especially like seeing the metrics about the account openings. That is phenomenal news. And I think it shows that your efforts are paying off. So thank you to you and to the team there at the treasurer's office, and to the treasurer as well. Thank you, Mr. Treasurer, for being an active participant in this.
Definitely.
Sometimes when I can coincide this with the bank directors meeting, it all works out nicely. So, and did you mention that we gave NC cash out to the school for the deaf?
I did not.
You need to mention that. 8,000, 6,000?
So over $8,000. So while the treasurer was visiting the North Carolina School for the Deaf, he also presented them with a check for over $8,000 from NC Cash, which you can imagine they were very, very excited about, and the money will be put to good use for sure.
I misspoke, 4,000.
4,000.
My fault, not yours. Okay. So anyway, there's a lot of these nonprofits and other folks we reach out to regarding ABLE that actually have money sitting in the treasurer's office in NC Cash. You probably can claim your NC Cash and fund your ABLE account. It's not a taxable event. So anyway, all right, what's next? Are you through with the update?
I'm done with my update.
Any other questions about this? And did you talk about I'm sure you did, about the people who presented the placards that we took a picture of to the students?
The students at the
School for the
The School for the Deaf, yes. So again, the treasurer was able to participate in an assembly with them. We also had some students that worked on artwork.
That's what I want you to cover more.
Okay, and the artwork was really inspired by the NC ABLE program. So, we kind of gave them a blank canvas and let them use their creativity to come up with different designs. And then the treasurer was able to meet with them all and have a really great conversation with them through sign language. And I know Jeff actually shared some of the coverage that we got from that event to the board members. So I encourage you all to read those articles, look at the video and the pictures. You can see the students proudly showing off their artwork, as well as hear some of the great kind of words and advice that the treasurer gave them while he was there.
In a prior board meeting, we had set up the artwork that the kids at Franklin Academy did, and just we felt like we probably didn't do them enough justice with the board members, so we wanted to email out the files to them so you guys could really get a really good view of the excellent artwork that they did. As I mentioned in my email, we're really excited how well these students do in putting together their vision of NC ABLE. And again, thank you for helping us to lead that effort, Treasurer.
And again, we're working with Franklin Academy on an ongoing partnership where we'll be doing more graphic arts work. So more to come at board meeting.
And I know it's not your wheelhouse, but I wouldn't be opposed to you looking at other creative opportunity needs in our building that may not relate to ABLE that we could use the people at Franklin Academy on. Whether it's the retirement system, the check your beneficiaries, I've got 15 things in my head right now that they could do, not just ABLE. So give us some talk. I'm also scheduled sometime, hopefully this month, to speak to the School for the Blind, which is here in Raleigh. So look forward to doing that and talking to them about able accounts also. So, good deal. Thank you all. You, Chris. Thank you very much. Now we're on to Zora. Jose.
Hi, good afternoon. Can you folks hear me?
Perfectly.
Excellent. Good afternoon, Treasurer Falwell, esteemed board members and guests. Again, my name is Jose Rafael Gamboa. I am the Census Relationship Manager, and part of my charge is the NC Able relationship, and super thrilled to be part of the NC Able family, so to speak. Just kind of want to start off with some initial thoughts. Again, as we march into 2023, we look to develop our marketing strategy to help spread that ABLE awareness. Zora has volunteered because, we see the great work that she's doing and the team at North Carolina in the state, and we would have solicited essentially her thought leadership in helping develop our marketing strategy walking into 2023. So we do appreciate that, Zora. And in short, hopefully past this implementation on November 20th, we'll start to do some deep dives and kind of pick your brain. So much appreciated. The second comment and statement is, we started this massive implementation early 2021, and I can't thank the NC Able team enough. The team has been extremely involved from start to finish, from the enhancements to the platform to the plan disclosure rewrite, which we wrapped up, and then of course any sort of edits, revisions, updates to any sort of assets such as forms, things of that nature. North Carolina's input has been extremely valuable through this journey, and I apologize because I'm sure I've inundated the NC Able team with a ton of emails and follow-up, but we're there. As Jeff had mentioned, we're super excited. North Carolina is opening up the opportunity of other authorized individuals to be able to open an account. Documentation will still be required. However, there's different methods and vehicles to be able to provide that documentation. And we've worked with Reed and Jeff to hash out those requirements. So many thanks. We're, as Jeff had mentioned, November 20th is our big day. So we're about 10 days or so away from our big launch. So having said that, though, any questions? All right.
Any
Perfect.
questions from board members?
All right. Great. And just so you folks know, I'm joined by Kyle Medeiros. He's the client relationship administrator. He's supporting us in the interim before Molly Peterson returns. She actually returns the week of Thanksgiving. And then also I'm joined by Paul Soupe. He's director in our investment management team. He'll do the fund performance review after my presentation on the NC Able program metrics. So excellent. With this first slide here, again, total assets per month. We finished off the month of September a little south of 16 million. And when you look at total contributions and distributions, contributions grossly outweigh distributions for the month. So, again, complete speculation. I'm sure Paul will be able to delve a little bit more deeper into it. Really what we're looking at is market. Market is impacting total assets under management. Next slide, Patty, please. Great. Excellent. Thank you so much. Again, this slide I actually admire, in particular for NC Able. When you look at total assets, for sure, we have 27% invested currently in the checking account option. But when you look at the other portfolios, so for example, growth and aggressive, again, these are kind of the long pole investment vehicles. These are the ones where maybe you're saving for a larger ticket item. 32% of the total AUM for NC Able is invested in those two options. So, I feel like when we look at our investment portfolios, when, we assess whether or not we're meeting the needs of NC Able savers, I feel like we have a sound solution here, so that excites me to know that, hey, listen, yeah, 100%, we have NC Able participants who are using it on a day-to-day to transact on the account. But there's also NC Able users and Able savers that, they have a long-term vision, that they're saving for something larger, so, but again, we're only 5 or 6 years into this, so I think there's a great deal of opportunity. Next slide, Pat, please. Thank you so much. Again, contributions by month, we see here in September. It's a little south of where we were at September of last year, but again, we're approximately $470,000 in contributions for the month of September. So again, very promising. I feel like, even with, all of the news and information about the market, we've still seen a consistent pattern of contributions. And you'll see that with the next slide, Patty, please. With contributions type, again, extremely, this is a great slide. And I love this slide because it just shows how web savvy our NC Able saver is, right? You see when you look at total contributions, 48% was through electronic transfers or electronic bank transfers. That's massive, when you look at it. We have 23% at check contribution. We still see a lot of NC Able savers using the UGIF contribution method as well, which is fantastic. But overall, this is a great picture. It highlights exactly the NC Able, your typical NC Able saver, right? And they're web savvy. They know how to use the computer. As Zora had pointed out, 52% of folks who start the enrollment will finish it. So we have a really savvy group of NC Able savers. Perfect. Next slide, Patty, please. And here's a breakdown of contributions by age. Again, this is also promising, because when you think of the life of an, NC Able account, right? For the most part, I think it's a fair assumption to make that when you open this account, you're essentially opening this account for the rest of your life. I mean, this is essentially an investment and transaction vehicle from, let's say, when you open it till essentially when you no longer need it, which we expect, which would be your entire duration of life. So I think, what we're saying here is, listen, I think this is a great promising story. We see a great deal of contributions happening between the ages of 0 all the way through 20 to 21. So again, hopefully we're building that NC Able saver confidence, right, to be able to use an investment vehicle, to be able to transact and empower them to use their funds for qualified disability expenses. So this is really, really an exciting picture from my perspective. Next slide, Patty, please. And as I mentioned before, contributions have grossly outweighed any sort of distributions for the month of September. Right now, we were south of $250,000 in September, whereas contributions were closer towards $500,000. So again, I think assets under management really is being impacted by the market. Next slide, Patty, please. Excellent. Thank you so much. I love this one. I love this picture because again, activity. We definitely see some usage by our NC Able savers. I think the one important component to highlight here is the fact that, listen, for the most part, NC Able savers who open, manage, use their account, they want to stay with us, right? Just based on this, when you look at that rollover amount there, that's essentially NC Able savers rolling their funds out of the program. It comprises of less than 1%, right? It's 0.3%, $6,000, $6,500, so which tells me once an NC Able saver opens and enrolls into an account, they're actually enjoying using the program, and it's adding value to them, to their life. Next slide, Patty, please. Thank you so much. And again, this is just a breakdown of distributions by age group. This is kind of all over the place. This is what we expect for sure, because it's difficult to predict when qualified disability expense may surface. But you know, this is pretty standard and typical of what we see across the board, not necessarily just for NC Able. Next slide, Patty, please. And new accounts, again, marathon, not a sprint. What we're seeing here is consistently NC Able opens a little shy of 50 accounts per month. Total plan accounts year to date is 390. So excellent. And here, the next slide, Patty, please. Here's an interesting breakdown. This is accounts by disability type. And again, it runs the full gamut. But one data point I'd love to share with you. So last month, I had the opportunity to sit in a panel discussion to talk about the ABLE landscape and meeting the perspectives of all needs. You know, and one of the panel interviewees, forgive me, was a gentleman who was part of the policy of Senior Director of Policy and Federal Government Affairs for Autism Speaks. And one interesting stat he shared with us was the fact that right now there's 5.4 million Americans that have been diagnosed with autism. You know, so when you look at this stat here, the second line, you know, total open accounts for NC Able, developmental disorder, you know, open accounts 800 funded, of which 763. And again, I haven't particularly dove deep into the other programs as in terms of this stat, but it just tells you right now, it's not necessarily, I think the opportunity is actually a great opportunity. The issue we're having is just awareness, just general awareness, right? And spreading the word about ABLE. So I think it's a great problem to have, because that tells me there's more folks that we could reach out to and impact in a positive way, right? You know, 5.4 million Americans right now across all of ABLE programs. I think there's something like 146,000 open accounts. So I think there's definitely a ton of opportunity, and I'm super thrilled at the fact that Zora and team will be participating in our marketing strategy discussions for 2023. Next slide, Patty, please. And again, this is accounts by eligibility. This is a basis of eligibility. I know Jeff had broached this topic briefly, and this is just a breakdown of how that's tracked. Right now, currently, there's 3 different types of basis of eligibility. Next slide, Pat. And this is our account. Oh, so sorry. Was there a question?
Question from anyone? Continue.
Excellent. Thank you. And this account closures per month. Again, what we're seeing a great deal is more so closed inactive accounts. So these are accounts that may have been spent down, or maybe they opened their account and maybe, you know, lack of funding, they were unable to fund it. Next slide, Patty, please. And right now, this is the Alliance assets ranking as of September 30th, 2022. And North Carolina is at $15,915,860.65. They comprise 5.5% of the total Alliance assets under management. Great. Next slide, Patty, please. Excellent. Before jumping into fund performance, and I hand it off to Paul, does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? Thank you, Jose. We're ready for Paul. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you. Paul, please.
All right, great. Thanks, Jose, and good afternoon to everyone. The first slide here, we'll start off with the plan performance, and we'll also look at the asset allocation and the plan growth of assets over both the quarter and the past year. So obviously we've had some tough markets year to date, but it's good to see that, you know, we still get some asset growth both within the quarter and the year. So for the quarter, we had a slight increase in assets of just about 55,000 in assets, but that was about 0.4% growth. Year over year, it's a little bit bigger. We had about 2.2 million in asset growth, and that's about 16.3% growth over a 12-month period. So even with these like tough markets, you know, both equities and fixed income are really seeing negative performance. We still see the plan growing, and that's good to see. One other thing that we noticed with kind of the allocation of the plans, we'd like to take a look at, you know, what's the ratio of assets between kind of those top four portfolios, the more aggressive portfolios, the aggressive, moderately aggressive, growth, and moderate options, compared to the bottom three more conservative portfolios, being conservative, moderately conservative, and the checking options. So with the National Label Alliance as a whole, there's about 45% in those aggressive portfolios. There's about 55% on the more conservative side. With North Carolina Able, that's basically flipped around. We have basically the reciprocal ratio here. So we have about 54% within the, or 55% within the top more aggressive portfolios, those top four more aggressive portfolios, and only about 44% in the bottom three there. So North Carolina Able, out of all the 19 plans, is kind of the most aggressively allocated as far as the assets within the plan. So hopefully that means that there's a long-term approach to a lot of this money, or a lot of the investment in here, a lot of the participants, and it's kind of a stickier money that they can wait out kind of these tumultuous times within the market. So that's a good sign to see. Hopefully through the coming future years or so, we can turn these markets around and get positive growth in here through the markets as well. One thing that we will notice on that one slide there is that 1 year growth that we do see, kind of what we expect to see, the more aggressive portfolios having the largest losses here. But it's as we get more conservative, it really kind of drops off and gets more protective of those assets. And as we go to that next slide, we'll look at the kind of underlying positions that we have. Yep. And so this first slide here is the underlying equity positions. And what we can point out here is that those top two positions are kind of the U.S. equity market. We have, for the 1 year, negative 15.5%. That second position is the Vanguard Extended Market. That's our small and mid cap allocation. That's almost negative 30%. So equities altogether are basically about negative 19-20% for that U.S. market over the past year. That large cap position has really outperformed the small and mid market side, but that kind of reversed within this last quarter. So we did see kind of those the small market kind of outperforming the large caps, and that generally started with kind of July. We had kind of a robust turnaround in July, double-digit gains for equities, as people thought, or analysts thought, that the inflation was going to come down as quickly as it went up. We got August inflation numbers, and they did not perform as well, or did not come down as much as people thought people's expectations were. And that's where we had the turnaround again back to negative returns. We kind of ended the quarter negative, but it's still that July return really kind of helped out the growth side and the small cap side with the technology funds, technology companies, and small cap companies really kind of rebounding a lot within that July period, and it kind of kept the return and outperformed for the quarter. For the next two underlying funds there, it's the international side. What we see here, a lot of it is reflected in having kind of currency issues. So this foreign investment over here, we have very strong dollar because the interest rate keeps going up, and that affects the return as those foreign investments try to bring it back to USD. There's an additional kind of loss that's put onto it as a weaker currency is buying a stronger currency. So that's kind of expedited kind of the negative returns on the international side. And then we have the fixed real estate position down the bottom. We have a dedicated real estate space, and that's basically there to kind of protect against inflation, where you have kind of a real asset that usually protects against inflation and goes up as inflation goes up, but it's also kind of negatively impacted by those raising interest rates. Generally, when we have negative equity markets, those interest rates go down, and that helps on kind of the real estate side. Even if you have inflation that's going up, that helps. But what kind of situation we have right now is inflation's going up, and it's hurting the equity side, and then the Fed has to fight the inflation by raising those interest rates. So it's hurting both kind of the equities and the fixed income side. So if we move to the next slide here, we'll look at the fixed income, and you can see we noticed on that last slide that was 15.5% down for the S&P. That the top position here, the international the total bond market, that's negative 14%. For 14.5% for the year. So, I mean, it's hitting equities just fixed income just as hard as it's hitting equities, which is an atypical situation. So it makes it very difficult as far as kind of asset allocation and making sure that we can, prevent it on that downside. A lot of times, bad equity markets, you protect with those bond allocation. Here, we're getting hit kind of both in fixed income and in the equities. So what we do on the fixed income side to provide a little bit better protection or so is we try to shorten the duration of our fixed income products. So that's where we're adding kind of this short-term bond index where we have a short-term inflation protected side. So that helps with inflation protection, but it also keeps the duration low there. So that keeps the interest rate risk as low as we can, as low as possible. So those kind of positions, the short-term bond, the TIPS position here, inflation protected, and even that international position where we have a hedge product there. So it hedges against the currency risk within that international bond position. And so even though the US dollar is going up, we're not getting hit on this international bond product down below. So it really kind of outperforms kind of other bond index international bond index products right now. So those three kind of bottom funds here have all been kind of beneficial to the allocations, especially within the fixed income allocation on these. And that's where we see kind of that bigger drop off from the aggressive portfolio down to the conservative portfolios. A little bit better protection is really on this fixed income side. And of course, within the moderately conservative and the conservative portfolio, we also have a cash component in there as well. It makes up about 60% of the conservative portfolio. And that's finally getting some yield now. Those interest rates are going up. There's finally some yield to that product, and that gives a little bit of positive returns to kind of offset the returns we're seeing on the kind of equity and fixed income side. Is there any questions about any of the performance or any of the underlying allocations?
Questions from our board members? Proceed.
That's mostly what I had for today. Just to note that we do have kind of approved new asset allocations put together. which will be making those adjustments to the plan within the first quarter of next year.
Thank you very much. We're now to the part of our agenda for public comment. No one has signed up for public comment according to Patty, so we'll deem the public comment section closed. Before we adjourn, I'd like to go around the horn and see if our able board members would like to ask any questions or say anything.
This is Melinda. I don't have any comments. Just thank you for your continued hard work and really enjoyed seeing all the stuff around the School for the Deaf. That just kind of warmed my heart this week. So thanks for that.
Well, for a guy who normally gives speeches with props, it was a different kind of presentation. Next.
I hope they appreciated your sense of humor, Treasurer.
The Washington Post says my sense of humor is well hidden.
I'll vouch for you anytime.
All right, next.
Mr. Treasurer, this is Katie Boskin. I happen to know that Melinda may be expecting a child here at the end of the month, and I wanted to take a moment and wish her the best of luck. And I hope that for a smooth delivery and for successful transitions for you.
Well, thank you.
Congratulations, Melinda.
Thank you. It's a long, sordid story that probably Katie's the only one on this whole call that knows, but thank you for that.
I just don't want to hear that a pregnancy is a long story.
Well, I mean, the moral, the end of it is it's not mine, but I'm doing this for somebody else. But I am indeed going to bring forth a child for somebody at the end of this month.
Well, that's fantastic. And I'll say this as a former legislator who wrote the kindergarten cutoff legislation, as well as a CPA. This was good. This was a great kindergarten cutoff baby and a great tax return baby. So you hit. When's the due date?
It'll be right at Thanksgiving. So.
Oh. And she sighs.
Yeah.
So anyway, you hit 2 home runs on the kindergarten cutoff date, as well as the as a CPA get the tax benefit for the whole.
I sure did.
And a clean pass on any Thanksgiving obligations.
That's right. There will be no obligations for me over Thanksgiving.
You will have done enough work on that day.
That's right.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right. I'd like to thank all of you for participating. I would like to and also call out Kristen, who's in the back of the room, who's been very involved in all this. Thank staff. I think I'm satisfied that we're doing a good job of organically growing our ABLE program, and I'm very thankful for the partners like Melinda and Autism Society and every other organization that we can talk to who's helping us get the word out. I'd like to adjourn our meeting today without objection in honor of the students at the School for the Deaf. And by the way, it wasn't just a presentation that was signed, it was the questions back to me that were also signed. And then there was a little debate between some of the students because some of them gave the wrong answers. And so that was signed also. So a lot of signing going on there. And I was really impressed and look forward to doing that again.
Did you at least learn how to say your name in sign language?
I didn't. My wife has accused me when we go to Europe of when somebody speaks a different language that I slow my speech down and get louder, and somehow that's going to fix the problem. So since she has coached me not to get involved in anything like that, then I didn't attempt to do that. But it was a great reminder of something I've told this group before. If you haven't seen CODA, you will definitely feel like Jim Valvano while watching that movie. You will laugh, cry, and think by watching that movie. And of course, we saw a lot of the clapping, which is, I do know this one. So, which has got a little bit of a Queen thing to it. It's not one of these, right? I mean, it was like that. So anyway, it was, and we were there on Halloween. So there was a lot of candy, a lot of people getting candy. So anyway, we were really grateful to do that. So any other comments or questions from our board members? If not, I'll entertain a motion in honor of the students and faculty of the high school that we adjourn our able board meeting. Do I hear a motion?
So moved.
So moved. Tim Smith.
Good, thank you, Tim. Tim's a second, and Melinda.
Yes.
I think so.
Yes.
Thank you. And congratulations. And also want to, as we come toward the end of the week, remember our veterans, including our own Tom Causey and others that might be in the room. You know, too often I hear that people say, thank you for your service. And it's actually a verb, not a noun. So it's thank you for serving. It's action. It's what veterans do. So thank you very much. And happy Veterans Day to you and Alan and others. We have a motion second on the floor. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Treasurer Falwell,
Aye.
Catherine Boskin,
Aye.
Keita Robertson,
Aye.
Okay. Hereby adjourned. Thank you all. Have a great holiday season and be safe.
Thank you.
Thank you.